everybody, and welcome back to the Consummate Athlete Podcast. I'm Molly Herford. I write all about fitness, nutrition, outdoor adventure, all that fun stuff. And currently I'm pretty much entirely packed up into one bag this time for a pretty epic trip we have planned.
I suppose if you don't have to count the other 3 bags you have, you definitely have one bag.
I just want to say, compared to last year's excursion to the same places.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I am Peter Glassford, and I am Molly's co-host here on The Consummate Athlete. I am a registered kinesiologist and an endurance coach, and on this podcast, we look at all sorts of different sports and movements. Often we do talk about cycling and different types of cycling, as that's sort of our background, but we try and look at other sports and movements, see what we can learn from people who, coach that or, are doing lots of different sports or are experts in different sports. So, yeah, how has your consummate athlete lifestyle been the last couple weeks?
Well, yours was pretty good this week, as you got to add wife carrying into the mix.
That is true.
I had a pretty awesome, as listeners know, I had a really enjoyable crit experience racing in the New England Crit Week. Things were going swimmingly. I had an awesome 4th of July back in the U.S. with my family. My dad came out and rode his bike next to me for an 18-mile run. So we had some really good chats.
And that's something you guys used to do all the time.
Yeah, when I lived back there, we would do that most weekends when I was training pretty heavily. So yeah, that was super fun. Then, had a bit of cramping issues over the weekend, but still managed to, I'm going to say, have a consummate athlete weekend on the grounds that I lugged a ton of stuff to the dump and scraped up a ton of stuff as we're redoing some stuff in our condo.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the reason, a lot of us, most of us aren't, high performance, Olympians. So there's disruptions for travel. The kids are at swim tournaments, we're injured, body's getting sore. And I think that's, certainly that's why I got into or sort of started down this path of movement and movement variety is, it's fun. It lets you interact with different people, but it also helps you work around injuries and sort of keep your sanity, right? Because a lot of us, I know I am pretty much addicted. If I don't get to move, then I start becoming somewhat grumpy.
Yeah, 2 days of not really getting to do a ton. By today, I was really happy that I was able to get back out and do a nice casual run and feel totally fine. So glad to be sort of back after a day and a half off. And we had an amazing clinic on Saturday morning.
Yeah, we did a bunch of women, I guess, but there were 6 of them, and sort of mountain bike skills clinic, so that went quite well, which is good. It's sort of a warm up. We have a bigger one in Saskatchewan this weekend, so it was a bit of a warm up for that one, which is remote and with people we don't know as well. So yeah. I'm sure it will go swimmingly, as you say.
Shout outs to the ladies who were at our Saturday clinic, and shout outs to the people listening from Saskatchewan that we're going to meet in a few days.
That's true.
Speaking of this, we're getting into like 10 hours before we start our crazy drive out to Saskatchewan, and then from there out to Canmore for nationals. So if our times for posting are a little crazy in the next couple weeks, it's because we have a couple crazy weeks planned.
I don't think we'll be that disrupted, will we?
I think we'll be pretty good, but just want to set the precedent or set the expectation.
I think that's like self-handicapping. That's
Exactly.
Like saying like, I haven't been training at all, and then just take the whole shot right from the gun.
It's my usual strategy, yes.
Awesome.
So today's guest is actually a second-time guest. We have climber Leslie Timms. She was one of our first guests and has the title of being the only guest that's been on twice where we've gotten to do the interviews both in person.
That's true, yeah, because Ryan Leach we did in person, but not the second time.
Yeah, Leslie's awesome. She lives up here in Collingwood when she is home. We live on very similar patterns to her, and
yeah, they go climbing most of the winter, but they run a climbing business, which is called On the Rocks here in Collingwood, Ontario. And so they take people climbing. So if you did want to try climbing outdoors, her business, we've used it, paid and went, and we had a great day one year for Molly's birthday. And they take you and they show you how to do, you can ask questions the whole time.
I'd like to point out that my mother said that was not the rock that you were supposed to get me for that birthday. Just, she might still be a little bitter.
I suppose. Yes. So today we have Leslie on, sort of an update, because she is a super interesting person, quite a talented rock climber. And we do talk a bit about training and some of the new things she's into.
A lot about how to go from the gym to the rocks.
But that's it. Leslie's working right now on sort of a...
new initiative.
An initiative is the word I was looking for. And what's it called?
Rock Respect.
Rock Respect. And so there's a lot of folks, the Olympics are coming up wherein they've added rock climbing to the Olympics. So that and just, more and more people getting outdoors and everything else are going from the gym, like a rock climbing gym, an indoor climbing sort of scenario where you don't have a lot of the survival skill or the danger. It's pretty safe. There's pads all over the floor. To an outdoor environment, right? And that transition can be tough because there are all these other factors, right? It's sort of like going from a spin class to mountain biking out in the wilderness, right? You're exposed. There's rocks that, things aren't consistent. There isn't a person at the front desk to call the ambulance for you. And there's a lot of just etiquette, and they're into sort of just not littering and not making new trails. So there's a whole bunch of stuff. So she's got downloadable on the rockrespect.ca website. They have a downloadable posters and all sorts of things you can put up if you have a climbing gym, or if you're just interested in having one for yourself.
Yep, she's doing more talks at gyms around and a couple festivals coming up. We talk about that, and you can find all of that stuff on the Rock Respect site as well.
Yeah, and they're all over the place. There's some around here in Collingwood, just north of here, and then also there's some out west that she's doing as well. And then she's a partner in this as well. So I think they're doing some in Toronto and around different areas. So.
Yeah. Even if you're not into climbing, this is a super cool episode just to kind of hear how someone, handles a professional athlete career kind of combined with this really cool, really full schedule of professional life. And then now she's adding in even more stuff. So how she kind of balances all of those together and how to sort of deal with some curveballs in business and all that.
Yeah, and I think the one training thing, we talk about it more in the last episode with Leslie, but the concept of grip strength comes up a lot. And a lot of people I work with have some sort of, flexion-based, or just, I would categorize it often as just they don't have strength in their hands. So they're getting overuse from typing and holding their phone and then holding their handlebar on their bicycle or holding onto a rock. But we talk, and again today she's got a new sort of fingerboard is what it's called. So, but like a board you're going to hang off of. A new thing that she's had good success with. And then did we talk about Pilates today?
I think we did, yeah.
Yeah, so she's really into Pilates right now and finding really good success with that. So it might be worth trying even that. So I think it's worth a listen, as Molly says, as always.
All right, let's dive in. Enjoy.
So what did you guys do for the winter?
So I actually tore my calf muscle like crazy right before we left on our trip.
Right.
So I was kind of out of commission. We rented an apartment in Mesquite, Nevada.
Oh my God. So one of you recovers and then the other one gets
injured?
injured?
We're seriously in that pattern. It's ridiculous. So Kyle had a great trip, but...
Because he had a bicep? Was that
and
what
then
he had?
his healed, and then I tore my calf muscle. I think we had like 2 weeks that we climbed together, like injury-free. But yeah, I was out of commission for 3 months.
How did you do your calf? It was like
I was
jumping?
down climbing off a formation actually, and I slipped and just landed weird, and I felt it just go like, and then I still had to get off.
Yeah.
So I was like halfway, and so I just like ruined it because I still had to down climb another 20 feet. So the whole way was like, the whole way down.
No.
Yeah, and then I ended up coming back too early.
Mm-hmm.
So I like rested for like 4 weeks, and then I went and trained with Sarah and just went a little too crazy, and then went and climbed and then went a little too crazy, and then retore it way worse than it was. So then that was another 2.5 months after that. So it was pretty much a complete write-off climbing wise, and we rented our house, so we couldn't come home.
All right.
So, which isn't the worst thing, honestly, for me. But
come on, that would have been so depressing.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
To the
Just
Canadian...
sitting there with my foot up.
Can't even ski, can't snowshoe.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would have been a bummer.
But it was kind of good for rest-wise, because I couldn't do anything. So it was like, I just chilled.
Yeah, like what do you do in Nevada? Like, did you go gambling or something?
Kyle did. Yeah,
Yeah?
he played a shit ton of poker. He paid for our whole trip.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, so he's good at poker.
Yeah,
okay.
he's really,
Well, that's good to know.
really good at
We
poker.
should probably have him on for like a poker.
Well,
he's
or start
a
having a
poker
poker
shark.
league. Some sort of game where I can be his teammate and we can
Yeah,
win.
yeah.
That would be good.
He plays poker every Wednesday if you do
Really?
play poker. Yeah,
Okay.
you
No,
can
I'll have to
totally go
learn,
out.
but I'll learn. I'll learn quickly. Or that's my story. Maybe that's my bluff. Yeah, new. Yeah, Leslie was telling me this little league you guys have.
Exactly.
Sounds fun.
You don't need to be good, actually.
I have
They want people that aren't
$10,000.
gonna come. They're like, come on out. Come. But that's actually how I started Rock Respect, was because I tore my calf muscle. I couldn't do anything all winter. I got bored as hell.
Yeah.
And I was like, and somebody sent me an email, 2 people actually, kind of within the same time. And they were like, you know, you're a guide. We think there's this huge issue right now with climbers and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, sat and stewed on it for a couple days. And then all of a sudden it was just like, I became possessed. And I was just like, Rock Respect, rockrespect.ca, respect the environment. It like came to me like that. And I was like, like crazy for like 2 weeks. I was like, like this lady possessed, and yeah, and that's how it began.
So I have a side hobby. I love owning domain names, especially other people's domain names. So was that the first thing you did? Like, did you get this name and then you bought the domain?
First thing was check to see if the domain was available. Yeah.
I keep thinking it's going to become irrelevant, domain names, right? Because like you could Google Rock Respect and it basically pops up, right? For most sites, for most things. But it still seems like you need a domain name. And they keep making new ones. I thought I owned, what was it that I thought I got? They released .bike domains.
Oh, yeah,
and I was like, mountain.bike. And I was like having a panic attack. Like I don't think I've been that excited for like anything. So we had like all these ones like road.bike and like all the obvious .bikes, right? And I figured I'd get like magazines, and this is borderline illegal and gray area illegal. And I've got...
So instead of .com, you get .bike.
Yeah, and so we have like the local club here is Cork.bike, which doesn't really make sense, but the name of the club is Cork, and then we just use a .bike.
Right.
It is sort of confusing for people because they only understand .com, basically, right?
Yeah,
it's
it's true.
up here.
The people do get it, but like if they're trying to remember the website, a lot of times people will try, and that's always the downfall of not using .com, right? Mm-hmm. And you're right, in Canada we're pretty used to it, but that's an aside anyhow. So Rock Respect, it seemed like there was a couple goals with that, though. So there's the Climber's Code of Conduct, which seemed like it had 4 elements.
Yeah.
So do you want to run us through sort of that code of respect, then?
Yeah. So respect the dangers, respect the environment, respect others, and respect access.
Okay, and I know with mountain biking, like IMBA has for many years sort of tried to do that, like leave no trace, and like if you are coming upon someone on the trail, like who has the right of way, and other users who has like the right of way with horses, and because we have the same horse riders, equestrian get upset, hikers get upset, and then you have trail access. So is that what essentially you guys are running into, like hikers,
very similar stuff,
environmentalists, you know?
Yep. So others, other user groups for sure. Other climbers. So there's definitely like a code of ethics, you could say, within the climbing community that, you know, unless you've been in it, you don't really know it, right? And it's kind of one of those things that nobody talks about, but we all know what you're supposed to behave like. So I would say that definitely comes into play, like not pissing off other climbers with regards to like right away and that kind of thing.
Surfing has that a lot too,
yeah,
right?
Surfing, very similar. Yeah, exactly. I got yelled at once surfing. That's my weight, man. I'm like, I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah, but I feel like surfing and skateboarding's like this too. We had a guy who has a really cool business down in New York who has like more oriented for kids, like camps and stuff for skateboarding, but he does like adult, like learn to skateboard things as well. And I was saying that like because a skate park is similar to, I feel like the ocean's even crazier, but like in a skate park it just seems like chaos, right? But there's like unwritten code, like you feel the flow, man, and like but it's always like nebulous if you aren't able to feel the flow.
Totally.
Right? There's got to be some rules. But I feel with climbing, especially top rope, it must be a little bit more evident.
It's more straightforward.
The line is the line, sort of, right?
It's more straightforward. You know, like if somebody's dropping a top rope on a route, but there's a guy that's about to lead up the climb,
right?
Like leader rights,
yeah,
you know, that kind of thing. And I wouldn't say that's like the main focus of Rock Respect, like, you know, that kind of stuff. But definitely it's things we mentioned for sure. Yeah. Just kind of getting people on board with the etiquette at the cliff.
And on your Instagram, I've actually been enjoying the couple posts that I've seen. Things just like keeping your ropes in good shape, and I'm trying to think of the other ones. Like there was ones about like improper bolts. Is that the name for it?
Yeah. Yep.
And just how to know that, you know, when it's. So I feel like that's an interesting side to this because it's not just, you know, don't make equestrians upset or don't leave your garbage in the forest. It's also like you could fall to your death type stuff, right?
Totally.
And so it seems like, I guess that's respect the dangers of
Yeah.
climbing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because I think what's happened right now is climbing's made this huge boom. So with climbing going into the 2020 Olympics, there's like climbers flooding to the climbing gyms right now. There's climbing gyms popping up everywhere. And a lot of these people, and it's not that it's a bad thing, but you know, they've grown up in the city and they don't have a relationship with the outdoors. And then they learn to climb in a gym, and there's just kind of this lack of regard for the danger, I'd say, outdoors. Because the inside creates this very like safe atmosphere. You know, you've got pads everywhere, and like even the ropes are tensioned at the top to make sure they don't stretch as much. Like, so then all of a sudden you go outside and you fall and you realize your rope stretches like 30%. You know, it's like so there's lots of things that people don't realize when they climb in the gym coming outdoors. The different considerations. So you really see that now. That people are just like, oh, screw it, let's go climbing outside, you know? Oh, that guy in the gym climbs really hard. He knows what he's doing, you know? And then all of a sudden these people are outside, and for a climber that knows what they're doing, they're looking over, they're like, I think I should leave because there's going to be an accident that's going to happen in like 2 seconds. So, yeah, that's why the respect the danger has been a big focus of ours, especially in the social media, because I find it's like a big part of the new generation. They all are on social media, right? So that's our way of kind of getting out to them.
You have to, yeah. And so in line with that, you have one more part of the rock respect thing is the gym to rock. Mm-hmm. So as far as that, like, when I first saw it, I thought it was like, all right, training programs to get this, but a lot of this is built around this respect, sort of the code of ethics.
Yeah.
For when you're going out, right? Like
totally.
you may have the skill of going up something, but then it's all the other aspects, right?
Yeah, exactly. So just kind of educating people on how do you transition outside,
right?
Because it's not really the gym's responsibility to teach people how to, you know, make that transition outdoors, but at the same time they are planting the seed into people to rock climb. So that's why we thought it was like a natural relationship, the whole like getting the code of ethics into the gyms, having the gyms promote rock respect, and then also getting the gyms to run gym to rock programming, providing easy access, free information for people for transitioning.
And you guys have, I'll link to it, but there's a PDF as well that has the code of stuff, and then a gym or whoever could post this.
Yeah, so we actually printed posters for all the gyms in Canada, and we've shipped them out.
Oh,
so
wow.
I think we've got them in like 50 or 60% of the gyms already across Canada.
Okay, awesome.
So can we talk about some of the ways to go from gym to rock? Because that's always been my kind of problematic thing.
Totally.
Turns out rocks outside are not color coded.
Yes. It's very true. That is definitely one of the first things people notice when they go outside is that, oh, things aren't taped and marked.
Yeah.
And, you know, you need a guidebook to get around to even find the climb you're looking for. My recommendation with anybody when making the transition to gym to rock, and I know that this is the difficult part now, is nobody wants to pay for a course. You know, it's expensive. But my answer to that is, how much is your life worth? And I know as a climbing guide, it's kind of like, oh, she just wants people to like. Honestly, I like gym to rock. This rock respect thing is probably like the worst thing for my business, because I'm going to be giving away free how to transition outdoors, don't kill yourself tips. Really, I want to encourage people to join up with some friends, take a course with a guide, learn as much as you can in a day. If you can't afford to do that, finding somebody at the gym who's got, you know, oh, I've been climbing for 15 years, like, go talk to that guy, get him to take you outside, you know, find a mentor, find a guide. That's like how you should transition outdoors. It's not something you just buy the gear at Mech and go for it. You know, watch a YouTube video. That's not the safe way to do it.
Right. Yeah, and we did not take one of the climbing courses, but we went out for a day with one of your guides, and it was really, really good for sure, and at least gave us the initial sort of exposure. And it really wasn't, in the grand scheme of things, there's a lot of things like to go downhill mountain biking or whatever people do, like laser tag or something, like it's all these things, like for a group it's really not that expensive.
No,
right?
No,
like
it's
for
not.
that like half day sort of like exposure to outside climbing, right?
Well, and that's the thing. I think people see the number and they're like, whoa, but you have to remember, like, for example, if you want to learn how to set up top ropes, you could do that in a 1-day course, you know, like, so that's 1 day of your time, you know, a couple $100 and boom, you now safely can set up top ropes outside. Like, really, is that a huge investment to you, you know?
No, it's so funny. And I struggle with this with mountain biking, like, because people won't drown like instantly, like, it's so odd. Like tennis, golf, and swimming, I feel like it's obvious. You take lessons, everyone's, you know, having a coach makes so much sense, but cycling, apparently, it's not as common.
Climbing can kill you really easily,
yeah, well,
too.
I feel like, yeah, both sports are quite dangerous.
Yeah,
like,
for
people
sure.
get hurt. Even people who know what they're doing get hurt,
Yep,
right? And,
definitely complacency kills.
But yeah, there's certainly some like basic rules of thumb and like procedures that make it much safer, right? And more enjoyable. And
there's rules of thumb, and like when you develop these good habits early in your climbing career, you will enjoy a long, safe, happy climbing career. But if you miss those steps, you're really just like a ticking time bomb.
Right.
Because I was that person. I was the person that just went and learned from some dude that like was like, hey, you want to learn how to trad climb? Okay, you just stick this and put it in the wall and go for it, you know? And I was like, ah. And then after that, like, I just had countless near misses happen, where I was like, how am I still alive? And that's actually what made me want to become a guide, because I was kind of like, wow, I want to encourage people to take a course because I somehow got out of it alive, but I don't think everybody else would be so lucky.
right. So then what is involved, like, as far as we talked a bit about this the first time you were on, which is episode 10, I think, and we can link to that when Leslie was on last time. But in terms of like, if someone wanted to get, like, I don't know if certified is the right word, but like, so I know how to basically climb somewhat, but if I wanted to do more, like, what would be the first step, I guess?
To
like,
come outside?
Yeah, like, is there like a 1-day level 1 course, or like, how's it divided up? Or
Yeah, so there's a couple ways you can do it, at least with the way my business is structured. It's kind of like, first thing is, what's your goal? Do you want to top rope outdoors, or do you want to lead climb outdoors? Once you've decided those two things, I think they're both imperative skills to learn, but if your money's an issue, you can pick one to start, right?
Okay, wait. Layman terms, what are
Oh,
both
yeah,
of them?
so
and we
top
do go
roping-
in the first episode, but yeah, just
top
briefly.
roping, rope is above you the whole time, so if you fall, the rope is always there. You
And
just
so
sit
generally,
back
like, you
onto
would
it.
walk up to the top, basically,
Exactly.
or someone, I guess, would have laid that rope beforehand.
Yep, so there would be like bolts in the wall, or trees, or boulders, or something, or gear that you actually bring and put in cracks. And you'd set up an anchor at the top, and then the rope would go through that. So then that's top anchor, top roping. So to learn how to set that up, you could do that in a 1-day course. Some companies, it might be a 2-day course, but you're looking at 1 to 2 days, and you can go top roping outside on your own. Sport leading, you can actually learn that in the gym. But I would actually recommend folks to actually take that course outdoors, because then they don't actually teach you certain skills in the gym that you need for outside. So I see a lot of climbers that learn inside and then come outdoors, and they're like, how do I get my gear back? And you're like, I'm out here. But, and again, that's a 1-day course too.
Right, and that's, so essentially you're like clipping to bolts that are already in the wall usually.
Yeah, and lead climbing is when you're actually bringing the rope up with you.
Right.
So the rope wouldn't be at the top. You're going to bring it up and then clip into bolts on the way. And then if you fall, you're going to take a little bit of a free fall until that last bolt catches you. So, so those are kind of the two styles you'd start with. You could even start with an intro course like what you did to kind of get the whole picture. But I find that a lot of gym climbers, they usually have a goal. Like, they either feel comfortable top roping, or they want to make that leap into lead climbing. And if you take a lead course outdoors, then you're prepared to go and pass your test inside. So it's kind of one of those things that you could save some money actually by doing it in outdoors first.
Right. And so there's a test you can go and take?
Yeah, so if you go into the gym, you have to pass your lead test to be able to lead climb.
Okay.
So to do that, you have to like fall properly, catch properly, and clip properly on the way up.
Okay, and then it seems like, especially for lead climbing, if you were in a new area or you didn't know, then you would want to assess those bolts.
Totally.
So is that like a jiggle test, or like, how do you know that that's, because it's essentially, I always think like it's like a drywall anchor or something, right? Like, it's an expanding bolt that someone's put into a drilled hole in the rock.
Yep.
Or into a crack in the rock too, right? Or is that
usually just like drilled into the rock? Yeah, the cracks is where that's trad climbing, where you actually place your gear into the cracks.
Okay.
And some people do start that way. That's more of an old school kind of thing. Nowadays it's seen as more of like an advanced form of climbing, because you have to learn anchor building and you have to learn lead climbing to be able to do trad climbing. Like it's kind of like a build up to trad.
Right.
But yeah, to inspect the bolts, the only true test to really know the strength, it would be to like actually do like a pull test on them with like a machine. So it's really impossible to like know, is the bolt safe? But there's definitely some things you can do to inspect it. You know, is it rusted? Is it wiggling in the hole? The hanger that you clip, that you put your carabiners into, if that's spinning, it doesn't actually mean that the bolt's unsafe. It just means it needs to be tightened a little bit. So, because sometimes a lot of folks coming outside, they'll see the hanger spinning and they're like, oh, this is a horrible bolt. And they'll actually take the hanger off and then like leave it on the ground or take it home or something. But actually it just needs to be hand tightened, or even just bring a little wrench and do like a soft tighten to it. So,
Right.
But if the bolt's wiggling in the hole or rusted, that's not a good sign for sure.
If there's a body on the ground.
That's not a good sign either.
Yeah.
Walk away.
How did you already get on the wall? Okay. I'm trying to think from there.
I actually have a question. Now that it's in the Olympics, or it's going to be in the Olympics, has it changed how people are like prepping or
Definitely.
competing? Like what's
what's
changed now?
Definitely a huge push for the promising youth competitors, I would say. That's why indoor has become so popular now, because it's created this really competitive environment for climbing, and then the youth are they're excelling at it, right? They're agile and they're light and they're
Darn them.
They've got so much time on their hands, and but yeah, it's awesome. So you can definitely see now there's just a huge like support from the climbing community to our youth right now, and the people that we think are the hopefuls for the Olympics.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Okay, so what is it going to look like at the Olympics? Is it outside? Is it inside? I have no idea.
I don't know if it's going to be like outdoor walls, but they will be artificial walls.
Okay.
For sure. And there's going to be, you have to be the master at 3 components. So you have to compete in speed. You have to compete in lead difficulty. So that's when you're bringing the rope up with you. It's more endurance based. And then you have to compete in bouldering, which is like short burst power. You know, you might only do like 6 moves, but they're really hard moves.
Right.
And you fall on a pad. So you have to win at all of those, or do really well at all of those, to be the winner.
Oh, okay.
The ultimate climber.
Yeah, geez. So what would training like for that look like? Just everything?
It would have to be completely well-rounded. Like a lot of the World Cup competitors right now for bouldering or lead stuff, they're actually going and training all this speed climbing. And so speed climbing, it's always the same route. So they can like copy paste that in gyms all over the world, and then they'll just go and work on that speed climb. And so you see a lot of the World Cup competitors now focusing on that, which is something a lot of them didn't really care for before. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
So is it essentially going to become like swimming, where it's all indoors and like swimming's basically the same every time? Yeah. But a lot of the top swimmers may not ever go outside.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's definitely a thing. Yeah. Like a lot of these people have been climbing in the gym for years and years, and you could say that if you put them on real rock, they could be some of the best climbers in Canada, but they just haven't made the transition because they put their focus on indoor climbing. I find climbers tend to do one or the other. Like they'll focus on either the competitive side or outdoor climbing. There's rarely ones that do both.
Right. Yeah. And what about, is there a governing body? Like there's the World Cups, so have they sort of taken on the lead then for the Olympics and stuff like that, and who's going?
Yeah, I'm not sure how it works. I do know that they just held like some Olympic kind of prep thing down south somewhere. But yeah, like the World Cup's always been like the, competitive thing for climbing that, that all aspire to. So yeah, I don't know how that's going to work, if they're going to partner with the Olympics or...
It'll be interesting. BMX is in it too, like freestyle.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And so it's sort of, I don't know if it's similar to rock climbing, like there's been competitions, but it's also sort of something that a lot of people just do, and they go out and it's very freestyle, right?
Yeah.
And their own pursuit, or and I guess in the same way there's people making money in BMX or a career out of just being really good and traveling around and stuff, right? And more videos and everything else. But now they're having to be organized and put into like a box that can be put on TV, and it has to be a governing body. And for females too, it seems like there's going to be a really good opportunity because there hasn't been as much competition for females, but because it's equal, they have to send the same number, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So in the next year or so, it'll be interesting to see, like, as females like double and their efforts and like get into these parks and get support and stuff like that, just like what will come of all of it,
Yeah,
and
that's
how
cool.
much the sport will change.
Well, and that's how climbing's changed a lot in the last like 5 years or so. Is so many more women are doing it. Like,
Really? Because there's spots there.
Like, I remember when I first started climbing, I was like one of the very few women out there, and now it's like there's ladies everywhere crushing. It's awesome. Yeah, it's really
in all
cool to
disciplines,
see.
or
In
very
all
focused in
disciplines,
this
yeah.
Olympic sort of
No,
area?
I would say in all disciplines now. There's a lot of women out there really giving her and performing at a really high level. It's awesome.
Do you think that's because of the Olympics, or do you think it's like...
It could be. I think people just caught on that it's a sport that women can do just as well as men in, and it's motivating, and and like the old school women inspired the youth, and the youth have grown up now, and they've inspired other youth, and it's just kind of a chain effect, and now there's just tons of ladies doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Strength to weight sport, right?
Yeah.
So it's like...
Yeah. So we talked to you like 2 years ago, 2.5 years now. It's been a while since we did that first podcast with you. How has your training changed since then?
I pretty much don't train
You heard it here. Just stop training and you'll get better.
Quit. I'm getting so much better. No, well, I started to focus on Pilates, just to kind of like balance myself out. I'm getting a little older, so I started to notice that the wear and tear is starting to catch up to me. This winter, getting injured kind of pushed me back to bouldering because it was a little less committing with my injuries. And it actually made me realize how I think that's really, as a route climber, I usually do longer climbs, that focusing on more power, strength-focused climbing is actually making me a lot better too. So I'd say this year my focus is going to be kind of like nurturing that strength and power that I developed over the winter, and balancing myself with Pilates, and then just kind of letting the rock climbing happen naturally.
I like that.
Yeah.
Nice. And then what about business-wise? What's new and exciting with the guiding biz?
Yeah, it's going awesome. On the Rocks took off like crazy. I think my timing in the industry was bang on. I've got a lot of really great employees now that I work with. We expanded to Milton region, so we now have courses in Rattlesnake.
Cool.
Which has been great as well. Yeah, things are good. Things are great with On the Rocks.
And you're still able to balance the two, traveling for your climbing and then coming back and managing a business.
Working on it. Guiding does not make you a better rock climber. It usually, this winter actually, it was eye-opening. Every year I try to find this perfect balance between climbing hard and guiding, and I've never achieved it. I've tried something new every single year, and this year was like the kind of the icing on the cake. I started off my fall season where I usually go climbing, and I didn't even want to climb because I guided so much all summer. I was burnt out, and I just didn't even want to climb. So then I like rested and just took some time away from climbing for a bit, and then kind of resetting everything now. Like, how do I make both work?
Yeah.
So we're gonna try again.
It's so funny how you have, like, I mean, our lives or our business and stuff is sort of similar in that way. Like, you love it, and then it's, I'm essentially out riding with people, but you don't really ride that much, and it's not at your pace, right? And it's not about you. If your business is of any value, it's not about you, right?
Exactly.
But it's sort of like planning that. I don't know if you plan during the week. Like, I try and think about my training in the course of the week and how that's lined up with other stuff, right? So try and like Monday, Tuesday often is like the day I can actually get out and train for myself. So I have to be careful. Like, Sunday often is race day, so then that sometimes like ruins my Monday, Tuesday blocks, right?
You're talking my life right now. Yeah.
Right, and then once you get into the week, it's just like it gets away, right? And so it's
I have to book blocks like that as well, and I have to incorporate like a really good rest day before a day I want to push myself on the rock, because otherwise, if I like guide and then try to go climb hard, it's like my hands are broken, and it's just like a recipe for disaster.
And mental too, right? Like it's all that.
You get burnt out.
So there's that, and then that's sort of like the micro cycle, and then the macro cycle is that like you can get away for a longer period, maybe in the winter,
Exactly.
and sort of focus on that, right? And then on the same token, you probably have to do like heavy guiding weeks, right? Like whatever the heavy period is when people want to actually come and climb, right?
That's just it. Like I think now I'm just focused on guiding in the summers, and that's always how it's been. Like I don't really focus on climbing in the summer anymore. And then winter's like my time to go and crush for sure, and I think that's the only way it's going to work, honestly.
Well, there's not much climbing going on here in the winter.
No,
so...
exactly. Yeah, definitely traveling for that.
Yeah, get into the ice climbing or something.
Yeah. Thanks.
So now, as far as events, what are there any major, like, people can come and we'll link to your website and stuff as far as booking their own stuff, but are you doing like anything in Ontario as far as events or big clinics or anything like that?
Yeah, so with Rock Respect stuff, we're trying to run just like information sessions at gyms. So any way we can get the outreach, you know. So I've got some sessions coming up at some gyms. I got one at Rock Oasis on July 11th. The climbing festival coming up on the 22nd
Of June.
of July.
Oh, this is the
well.
one that's out west.
No, that's here
that's
in
here.
Beaver Valley.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
so that'll
Cool.
be that's a great way if you just want to come and like kind of experience the climbing community. Coming out to that festival is a really great way. Yeah, and so those are kind of the headline ones right now, and then little things here and there.
Okay.
But yeah, I've got a partner with Rock Respect, and he's running some stuff with the Arc'teryx stores in Montreal. So he's going to be doing some stuff with them, and we've partnered with Arc'teryx for this. So they're doing a lot of the outreach with us, which has been awesome.
That's cool. So you're hitting social media, you use snail mail, and then you're getting to actual shops, and then you have Arc'teryx on board. So
yeah, we're trying to hit
covered a lot of that.
Yeah,
bases.
we're trying to hit all the different places to get the outreach we need.
I like it. Now, since in the past 2 years, have there been any like new? I know the climbing festivals are big on like the movies and stuff like that. Are there any new movies or books or anything on climbing that you've been really excited about in the last couple of years that people should definitely watch or read?
I haven't read it yet, but I did hear that Tommy Caldwell's book is really good. The Push.
Okay.
I've heard that's a good one. Sportiva always puts out some great little like free, interesting climbing movies. Ones that you don't have to buy. There's the Real Rock Tour, which always has awesome videos too. Yeah, those are the main ones I'd say to check out.
Nice. And then what about any new favorite gear in the last couple of years? Any new shoes, harnesses, climbing outfits, etc.?
Oh, geez. Where do you want me to
Like last
start?
time you were talking about like the yoke and some forearm stuff and grip strength. Like,
so
have you found
there's a
anything
new
new?
hangboard that I just started using. And actually, I've never done finger training before, like where you just hang on a... so there's one called the Transgression Board by Eva Lopez. She actually did her PhD on finger strength training.
Oh, wow.
So all of her design and program is completely behind years and years of research.
And is it like classic, like above the door type setup?
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And it's actually just, there's not like different holds. It's just a horizontal rail that gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So you build into the smaller hold.
Like a vertical rail? Or
like a rail.
Oh,
it's like it looks like a
little
tiny
mini
ladder.
Okay.
But you're not like climbing a ladder. You just hang from the holds.
Yeah.
So like the hold could go from like, to your second digit down to like, barely even your fingertip kind of thing.
Wow.
Yeah. So I just started
neat.
with that. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I did it for 4 weeks over the winter when I tore my calf muscle, and I noticed a huge improvement because I didn't climb at all, and I was able to come back to climbing pretty easily.
And were you doing like just times? Like how did you start and scale?
You have to let go. So say you do like a 10-second hang, but you have to make sure that you're letting go at like 80% effort. So you never actually go to 100% because that's like risky. And it's crazy. You do like the workout happens very quickly. Doesn't really feel like crazy hard, but then the next day you're like, holy crap, my hands.
Yeah.
So you got to be really careful with it for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of like ligaments and tendons, and that's I think why you're only pushing to 80, right? Is like it's not the muscular limitation. It's like that's what you're hanging on.
Yeah, it's almost like programming from your brain too,
Yeah.
like what you can actually hold.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, that's probably the newest tool. I still use the yoke too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they look cool. I see them every now and then too, just at different places. But, yeah, it's really funny. Like I always have trouble with my ankles and feet. like when we're doing anything like running and stuff like that. So I've been playing around with just a centered like calf raises and, you know, going up on toes and stuff. And I think it's similar in a lot of ways. Like it doesn't, you'll feel a bit of burn in your calf, but then the next day it's like, oh, it's probably too much. Right? So it's definitely like gradual progression and like you say, like probably 80%, right? Like leaving a few reps in the bench.
That's what I think, because it's easy to think that you need to go to like complete meltdown, burning.
Yeah, just rip the tendon, like rip the ligament off the bone.
It's almost like you should just try to fail with proper form and not go to that max. And I think you get better gains with anything.
Yeah.
I think we said that about pretty much sport across the board.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's just leave that as the rule.
Yeah, totally.
All right, well, I think that's probably a good spot to leave it. I mean, I think we got the key information about Rock Respect and a little update from Leslie, and then hopefully everyone will go and see you at one of these events and festivals or store talks or anything else.
Yeah, awesome.
The Consummate Athlete podcast is part of the Wide Angle Podium Network. Supporting Wide Angle Podium gets you access to podcasts like ours and keeps your favorite shows on the air and constantly improving. You also get access to rad bonus content when you donate.
Check out wideanglepodium.com for show information, other Wide Angle Podium podcasts, and to become a donating member with awesome bonuses. You'll help support the Consummate Athlete podcast, and every donation helps us keep improving the quality of the show.
Again, that URL is wideanglepodium.com/donate. Thanks for any support. Thanks so much for tuning into the Consummate Athlete podcast. You can check out my stuff over at theoutdooredit.com or by following me on Instagram and Twitter at Molly J. Herford. And you can check out Peter's coaching, training plans, blogs, all that fun stuff over at smartathlete.ca or by following him on Twitter and Instagram at Peter Glassford. And if you want to support this show and other awesome podcasts, please check out wideanglepodium.com for show info, other podcasts, bonus content, and to become a donating member so you can get all of that rad behind-the-scenes content and help keep shows like this on the air. And lastly, if you're enjoying this podcast and all the information that we're bringing to you every single week, do us a solid and pop into iTunes to leave us a rating and review. It takes you about 2 seconds. You can do it on your computer, you can do it on your phone, and it really helps us out. Thanks so much, and we will see you next week.